going to put this out on August 30th, but I didn't do it yet, which is kind of cool because it's not that big of a deal in the sense of like I don't think about it that much. But this was supposed to be my 4 years of not drinking. And why am I sharing that with you? Well, a couple things. It's weird how I stopped drinking. And the fact that I don't, talk about it every month or something like that shows you that the power I don't give it. And I know that people have their own ways of dealing with it with chips and 2 weeks and 4 weeks and months. And that's because it weighs heavy on them. And I think that I'm lucky where it doesn't, and I was able to rationalize it, but I was aware of it. I'm not saying I'm sober, but I pretty much am. But I don't have like specific rules, but let me explain it to you. I remember that, why did I quit drinking? Well, basically, I really want to get in good shape. I want to give myself the real try of really trying to get my body fat low and being very flexible, which I am, and more muscular. And I've had moments in my career where I'm more in shape and moments in my career where I'm less in shape. But it's a whole lot of work, And so if you work and you grind and you finally get a movie going, what do? To start the movie, you celebrate. During the movie, you work hard. And then you have the wrap party. And then you wait until the movie comes out or your next movie. And then if the movie's a hit, you celebrate. If the movie bombs, you party and you're like, this is terrible. So booze and all its ilk go with it, right? I'm sure this is in every aspect of life. And basically, it was August 30th, 2018. I had done a movie. I did the Roe v. Wade movie. I was in New Orleans, and I was eating every oyster you could, every fried clam you could, every beignet. I was drinking down beautiful big bottles of red wine. I was drinking vodka sodas and the best beer, and it was like, I was loving it. But I was looking fat, bloated. Fat face, fat belly, working out, but just bloaty. And I remember that I felt like every day for a few years I had some sort of alcohol every day. I think the worst it got where it was like I would like want to sleep and I couldn't sleep, so I would take a little Crown and Coke and have like a little glass. And it did make me tired, but that's not a good habit, right? Or I would go to sleep with a little bit of wine. Or I would drink these beers that made me feel so good. The Belgian Duvals, way more. I would drink the Pink Elephant beer, all these different beers. They're very calorie dense. And if I went to sushi, I always had sake. You have to. If I ate Italian, I drank wine. If I was eating Mexican, I'd get a margarita. If I was having gastropub, you'd get a beer. So like the alcohol was part of the food. It wasn't like I was sitting at home, blah, blah, blah. But then also like events, I'd have a drink, or we would have a screening, have a drink after, or have a drink, or meet me for a drink. Let's have a meeting, talk about a drink. You know what I mean? And the reason I started was I was like, I've been drinking a lot for a few years. Not like a ton. When I did drink, when it was like a party, I definitely drank to get drunk, like for sure. Like you want to get drunk. But also you like socially, like I said, like food. And I would buy beer. It was like my grocery list. I'd buy like X amount of Duvals and I'd put them in my fridge. So I'd have beer. I liked beer. And it's I noticed all different types of things. I was like, this is like I've drank, like even if it's one beer every day for like 3 years, just like, but and I thought maybe I should probably be careful with my kidneys. I started thinking about my liver. And then I like had girlfriends or on and off and go to their place and we'd hang out and, I'd have some wine with them and drink. And then I was starting to get to that age where it's like when you drink and you're about to have a little bedtime fun. There wasn't an issue there, but there was an issue of like, when's it gonna happen? Like, I was lasting a long time. Do you know what I'm saying? Which is weird. I was like, damn, I'm like a porn star. I'm never gonna arrive, if you will. And then I realized, oh, that's like a side effect of alcohol but that's not good either. You don't want to have sex drunk. I didn't really do that, but I'm just saying it's like if I had a girlfriend, we would drink a little. I just remember sex lasting a really long time, and I was like, I was basically because I was like, it takes forever to finish, and I was like, oh, that's a booze thing, isn't it? Because you're drunk. So basically, it wasn't one thing. I started looking at myself, and really, it was I was going to shoot my new special, Stupid Smart, the first special I shot in 8 years, and I knew I was going to shoot it at the end of November. So I had all of September, all of October, because it's really hard to quit drinking because you're like, well, Halloween's coming up, well, Labor Day's coming up, and then Halloween's coming up, and then the holidays are coming up. But then in our business, it's like, oh, you got a premiere here, you're on the weekend. I mean, look, as a comedian forget, if you do a movie, you have a start party, you work, then you have a weekend party, then there's parties during shoot, and there's a rap party, then there's a premiere. That's slippery slope. Like, with a comedian, you can do shows, and then you're bored as fuck in a town. Boom. Friday night, tear it up. Saturday, tear it up again. Sunday, sleep. I started noticing if I was partying on a Friday night, drinking and stuff, my Saturday shows felt a little off. So I'd wait till Saturday. And then I realized my Sunday crowd got a little gypped. But between that, drinking after you feel accomplished, chicken fingers, nachos. Oh, I just had these nachos. You're putting on 5 pounds for the weekend. You do that for 10 years, plus movies, plus, it could get out of hand, right? Because my job is to bring you the party. That's what a comedian's job is. That's what an actor's job is. So it looks like everything's always a party. I provide escapism to you. So if you are part of that escapism, it's like a DJ. A DJ can go down the rabbit hole very quickly. That's why you have a lot of sober DJs, because it's like they can't keep up with that. So it's a little backstory. So I was going to shoot my special, and I had about almost 3 months. And I was like, you know what? I said, I gotta like lose weight. Then I had an argument with my agent. He came over. We had a whole meeting, and he's like, let's have a bottle of wine and talk about it. And I was going to start like a day or two before the 30th. And then I had a time with him, and I was like, okay, this will be the last time I drink for a little while. Had no idea. So then I said, I'm going to just stop drinking. I set a goal till like November 18th. And I said, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to try to lose weight. And if even if I don't work out as much, I just need to cut all that booze out, that bloated look. I need to get rid of the bloated look. And if you look at me in the special, I do look less bloated. And I'm like, I just want to focus and get all my jokes in, and I'm going to work towards this goal. So that's what I did. And it was weird for about a month, where this really the habit of like, okay, I did this today, I did this today, I did this today, I did all that. Well, let's have a glass of wine. And that took some time. It's like, why can't I have wine? There were times when I had different operations, and I'd have Percocet for a pain pill, and I would take a Percocet sometimes. Just, if I had extra ones that I never really used, I would take them sometimes. Like if I was in Vegas or something, and I'd be like, oh, I'm going to take a Percocet today and go to the pool. And they were good. The issue is, though, it's like they can really just make you fucking heavy. Feel like, bleh. So whatever stuff I've tried, I've always had like a reaction to it that wasn't, eventually too much of it made me question it, which is good. Like too much booze, I get fat, and I started getting I couldn't even get past a hangover, like 2 drinks, and I was like, ugh. I started waking up, I remember, really heavy, like 2 drinks, 2 glasses of wine, I fucking wake up like someone punched me in the fucking. So basically I started with that, and it was the habit. It was the habit of, the first habit was like, okay, well, I'm not going to have a glass of wine late at night. So I went back to my old habits when I was like really working as an actor and going and auditioning. I had all this wine in my house that people would give me when I started getting jobs. I never opened it. And so I had a lot of wine in my house, and I said, this is just like my old life 20 years ago. Just keep the wine there. You didn't open it before. It wasn't like staring you down like, drink me. So I did that. So I had wine, and it was out in the open, and it was nice bottles of wine. And I just never opened it. And I started going back to tea. Because if I want to sleep, or what did I used to do? I used to take magnesium and chamomile tea. Boring, but effective. Rarely drank as an early actor. I only started drinking because I started getting successful. So what do? You enjoy your success. There's rap parties, have a drink. Premieres, have a drink. Go to a Maxim party, meet some chicks, have a drink. You know what I'm saying? But if you look at some of the most successful times in my life, I'm bloated. And if you look at some of the most depressing times in my life and depressed, I'm bloated too. So I'm bloated either way. And I don't like that look. Because when I was older, when I was younger, the bloat didn't really hang on to me. But when you get older, it does. So I started getting into the habit. I started drinking tea. And then I started realizing that I remember I ordered sushi for the first time and I just had a green tea with it. And I was like, this is not the same sensation. But the sushi was still amazing. But I'm like, I just want sake with it. And then you realize what's better, the sushi or the sake? Well, for me, I like the sushi. So I started doing that. And then I started realizing that I could eat the sushi and I didn't need the sake. And then Italian food was really good. But I was eating pasta with no wine. A nice bowl of pasta with no wine. I'm like, that's not going to work. So what did I do? I changed it to chicken piccata and broccolini. And I'd have some water and some tea. I'm like, okay, it's a little boring, but that's better. Mexican food, I love it. But again, without a margarita, it's just not as fun. I cut out pub food altogether. So what am I trying to say? When I cut out the booze, it started making me look at the next questions of my life. So what am I eating? And then I'm like, well, I wasn't eating as much Italian food, and I love it, but it's really thick. So I was only trying to eat a cleaner version of that. And then Mexican food, I'm like, you know what? Because the margarita leads to the chips, which leads to the queso. I'm like, I'm just going to avoid Mexican completely. And pub food, maybe on the road, I can just get the protein style of the gastro burger stuff. Because I was late night, there's no place to eat when you're on the road, except usually pubs. So these things, that the booze went to be a health thing and then a habit thing. Here's the next thing that happens. You start looking at it and you start going, well, who do I go to these places with to eat? Well, I go with a person that also likes to drink wine. Okay, well, maybe I got to avoid that person for a little while, even if they're a good friend. Or you try it with them and say, I'm not going to drink tonight. So what I'm trying to tell you is one little step leads to another little step naturally, which leads to another little step naturally. And the pressure is off. And for about a month, I almost puked. For about a month, the habit of not having a glass of wine or sake or something with the alcohol to taking the edge off, that was a little weird. It was pretty hard for 2 weeks. But once I got past 2, it was something do something for, I think it's for 21 days and you'll see a change. And so I made sure to get to the 21 days. And then when I did, you can break a habit. But you should put it in with something else. I don't believe these people that drink and then they quit drinking, but they're fucking slipping down 90,000 cigarettes. It's well, I gotta do something. Come on. I get it, but you have to look at what's making you do all this. And so I was basically just, after about a month, it got a little easier to, not really think, oh, okay, a glass of wine, this dinner, stuff like that. And then I started going out to eat less, and I was wanting to get in shape. So I was eating more simple meals and stuff. And then I shot my show. And that night I wanted to celebrate because there was a lot of pressure. And I wanted to eat with 2 sober people that just happened to be comics I liked that I work with, but they were there. And we ate and somebody gave me a joint. So I smoked a couple hits of the joint and I was really high. And I had pumpkin pie. And that was pretty much it. I think in 4 years, I've maybe gotten high 6 times, maybe less. But after I did that night, and I was like, I don't even need to celebrate feeling this way. I just had a lot of pressure on me, so they offered me a joint, and I had a couple of puffs, and I was good, and I was eating great. And I was like, I worked for 3 months. I lost weight, blah, blah. I'm going to enjoy it. And I had pumpkin pie. After that, I don't know. I was like, I'm just going to go through the holidays. I'm not going to drink. And then I did that. And then I was going back and forth and seeing my mom, and I was making good progress losing weight. So it got me motivated, I was dropping excess pounds. And then my mother passed away after a long battle. And I got another movie, and I'm like, well, I'm going to look good for the movie. And I'm like, I'm not going to drink for my mother's, and there was a lot of Irish people there and they were drinking. And I remember I drank like a lot of wine from my dad's thing and my brother did too. And I'm like I'm not going to do it this time. And I had a movie which was good and bad during the whole process. It was crazy shit. And the movie Trick. And then I just said, I'm not going to drink. I said, if I can get through a holiday, if I can get through a goal, I did. Get through a Halloween without it, I did. Holidays did. A goal of a production, I did. Another big holiday, I did. Another goal of a movie, I did. The passing of your second parent, that was big. Not to drink during that. And then I had a lot of big life changes after my mother died. And I was like, I need to focus. I need to do stuff. A lot of shit happened. This fucking guy I used to work with booked me in clubs I didn't even okay to. And then I was like, my rep was on the line and I had to focus. I'm like, what the fuck are you doing, dude? Like, you fucking okayed this without talking to me. Like, that's when I realized the guy was a fucking scumbag. Just wanted to work so he would make money, that type of shit. So I was like, fuck it. My whole life was changing because my mother passed, my business changed, my reps changed, all this stuff. So I just said, I'm gonna just keep working this summer. I have a lot to do and I'm just gonna focus. And my birthday came. I didn't want to party. I was 49. My mother just died, didn't drink. And then I went on a private yacht in late July of 2019, $1,500 bottle of like 35-year-old wine, tons of tequila. I didn't drink. I said, you know what? I'm just not going to drink, man. Thank you. Like, in fucking the way to do it. Like, private chefs, Italy, a yacht, 2 weeks, the whole nine. Everything you should be doing. I did everything, but I'm like, I'm not going to drink. That was another big step. The mother, the birthday, the yacht. And then I'm like, well, I got to get to a year. I'm close to a year. So then I got to the year. I'm like, wow, I just did a year of not drinking. I was like, I was just going to do it for this first job. And then I kept adding goals to it. It's like my buddy was brilliant. I always tell women, if you love a man, let him go. And your true test of love is if he comes back. And my buddy has an agreement with his wife where his wife's like, I understand if you're on the road, you get horny and you want to get a little something. I get it. I'd rather you not, but if you do it, it's okay. And by his wife telling him that, she made herself so vulnerable, and he's such an empath, he could never do it. He'd be like, I don't want to hurt my wife or kids. And I've been on the road with the guy multiple times, and women love the guy. Never once. I said, how do you keep doing it? He said, well, first I felt bad. First she was so cool. Then if I get tempted, I would feel bad. And he goes, but now it's just a streak. I'm coming up on 10 years. He's like, it's a streak. And he's a real competitive guy. And he's like, I want to beat my streak. And it really works for him. And that's how booze started coming. I was like, and I wasn't doing anything else. No, I'm not a pill head or a weed head or anything. But like I said, once in a blue moon, I considered that something different because I wasn't saying I'm trying to be sober. I'm just trying to say I wasn't going to drink because I wanted to lose weight in my face. But it led to a plethora of other life changes. John Mayer, a few years, I think, before that, it was a great Rolling Stone article. He talks about how drinking is the big con. And I agree with him. You should read it. Really fascinating article. I don't know if John smokes weed or whatever. Maybe he does. I don't know. But I totally agree. He was like, we were promised something else with booze, but it's not. It's a really, really truthful article, I think. And once I got to the year, then I went to another Halloween party. And I'm like, I'm not going to drink. And I'm like, I'll drink when it's a big event. That's what I said. I'll break this thing when it's a big event of success. And then sure enough, we go and I'm busy and I'm every weekend and I'm too busy and I'm scanning fucking deals and cleaning out my life and purging all the bullshit and getting rid of people and cleaning up tax bills and all types of shit. And then I was like, I was worked over the holidays of 2019 and I knew that the Wuhan was coming. And then I did a couple of gigs, and then 2020. And then lockdown happened, and I was working more. So I was in front of the camera. Funny you should ask. And I did a movie called Last Call. And I'm like, I'm not going to drink during the filming of this movie. So like little things that I would normally do, I didn't do. So it was like a first movie where I never drank, did this. So I tried these old ways with new And then once lockdown happened, I'm like 2 weeks to slow the spread. I'm like, well, people are going to, and then people start smoking weed, taking pills, all these issues started happening. And I'm like, this is going to be longer than 2 weeks. And this is a time for me to sit in my house. I haven't been in my house this long ever. So I'm like, I can get a lot done because I was in a fucking workspace. So after like the first month of lockdown, I'm like, people are drinking and stuff. I was like, I'm not going to do any of that. That's a worse way to do it, right? That's how people drink yourself to death or smoke yourself to death. And plus, I had so much to do. Like, I need a year off to get caught up. So for me, the pandemic was, besides being paranoid like we all were in the beginning, it was, get your food, prepare, wash it down, spray it, don't fucking trip. Get rid of all your garbage, fucking get your bills, get your monies together, do house projects, So that's what I was doing. So I was productive. I had a workout schedule. I mean, people that came over, I remember, man, 2 years ago, my friend Kyle came over and set up my house with my server, and that guy was like 3. I stayed outside when he went outside to do the server. I mean, I was like, he was like a fucking, what the fuck? We were looking at each other like we're wild animals. Like, that's crazy, right? There was no comedy. So basically, once I was deep in the pandemic and I had no booze, and it came up on my 50th birthday and people wanted me to drink. And I'm like, I don't want to drink. And they're like, it's your 50th. And I'm like, yeah, but it was like a very small celebration because it was a pandemic. And it was great. But it was like not the party I had planned in my mind for my 50th because I thought I was going to have like a big rager. But I didn't know people were going to fucking steal from me financially. We were going to be in a worldwide pandemic. I didn't know my mother was going to be passed away. So it was a different feeling, And I just said, I'm not going to drink. And people kind of pushed me. And I was like, I'm not going to do it. The more you push me, the more I'm not going to do it. And then once I did that, and they're like, why aren't you going to do it? I'm like, I don't know. It's a weird time, and I don't need booze to deal with it. I'd rather go and sit in my pool. And then I said also that I'm almost at 2 years. So boom. So once I got to 2 years, I was like, okay, well, what the fuck is this? So then we're in lockdown all the way up into pretty much end of May 2021. That's when, the vax started coming and all that stuff started happening. And then I started getting productive with my podcast and all this stuff. So I'm like, why? I want to focus. I don't want to drink. And then once my podcast started getting busy and I started going out, I'm coming up on my 51st birthday in 2021. And they ripped the masks off at the end of May, early June of 2021 in Vegas. And I'm like, this is fucking insane. I'm doing meet and greets with the mask. And people didn't care. And we still didn't know the vax and all this shit. So I'm like, I did this long. I'm almost at 3 years. So I got to 3 years. And now I'm just, and so much has happened during that time. And so many different habits have formed. I'm giving you the quicker version of it. But basically, I stopped drinking for a selfish reason that became a goal, that became more of a health reason. Like, I'm like, my liver can't be in good shape if I drink, but my liver is in good shape, but like, it's but now I'm aware, like, maybe I shouldn't have done that to my liver. Not that I was like drinking that crazy, but just a little. If you have one beer every day, I don't know. I don't think it's probably good for you. I'm sitting there and I'm doing all of these things and I'm not drinking. And then that leads to like, better eating habits, less going out. Then I started cooking more because of the pandemic. Like, I used a lot of the pandemic for positivity. Like, I was cooking more. I got more into a ritual. I started cutting out friends that I'm like, what are they doing? What am I getting with these people? I'm not getting anything positive out of it. I stopped taking shitty gigs that I'm like, why would I take that gig? That's not going to be positive for me. So all of this stuff started happening, and I'd gone through all these life events. Then I started shooting a movie in October 21. There was another death of someone that I knew, and I was like, I'm not going to drink for that. And the movie, I went to the rap party. I was fucking a lot of people. People wanted to party. And incidentally, some chick who was cool on the movie was a complete asshole at the party. Some chick who was like played a stripper, who was really cool in the movie, was a shit-faced fucking moron at the rap party. Everyone hated her, and I called her out. I'm like, you're ruining everyone's fucking party. You had 2 fucking lines. Get the fuck out of here. And she was like, fuck you. And everyone's like, shut the fuck up. I'm like, get her out of here. Get the trash out. Because it wasn't her movie. we worked hard on this movie and the fucking piece of trash was wasted. And that made me not want to drink more. And my co-star's beautiful young man wasn't drinking. I don't think he drinks. So basically, what am I trying to say? At this time, as this was happening, life events were happening. Something that started as a narcissistic reason, then I realized it became a choice that was in our lives involuntarily that I was like starting to question the people involved with it. And then I started realizing that a lot of people stopped drinking. A lot of comedians don't drink. And some of them are sober and some comedians are like, I'm sober, but they do like, I just did 16 bars of heroin, but I don't drink. I was like, that's sublimating. California sober is bullshit. Like I said, maybe in 4 years I smoked like 5 times, but like no, 2 of them are like weed drops. Maybe 2 times I smoked. CBD, I would do that sometimes to sleep. But I never claimed to be sober. I claimed to not drink. But I pretty much am sober. I don't really do anything. But basically, by stopping drinking, you start gravitating to others that don't drink. And you start changing your life choices naturally. This is how, the way it happened for me should happen for everyone in terms of life. Like naturally seeing things. And like, you know, I know a lot of younger comics that don't drink. They do their comedy. Maybe they work out more. Maybe they TikTok or they're so busy having to market themselves, they don't have time to drink. I see some older comics that never drink or very few drink. Some legends I didn't realize didn't drink. Like I said, it's a slippery slope, right? You fucking on the weekend, you're there. After a show, there's like 3 things to do. One of them's drink. The other is like meet up with a woman. And the third is to fucking eat. Or you can do all 3. And so I started podding. Instead of going to sleep at night, you know, having a glass of wine, go to sleep and do a pod. So my productivity, my circle started changing, keeping it more and more of, okay, this is people I should be around. But I wasn't like, didn't go to any meetings or any of that. All those meetings and stuff I ever went to was always from girls I dated who were sober. Give them chips and stuff. I never went to any of that. Because I'm not considered, like, I'm not a sober, like, AA person. I quit drinking. Will it last forever? Who knows? I don't have a desire to drink. In fact, there was times like there's some high-end events that people wanted to give me some booze. I'm like, you know what? I don't want to break it. And I'll tell you why. I started seeing that more and more people stopped drinking. And I don't think it was just me. I think I noticed it. Then I started smoking cigars a little bit more. Now I stopped doing that for a while. I don't think they're bad, but they're not great. But I'd love a cigar. And then once I started seeing the pandemic and all the different things that happened, I realized that I think drinking is a complete sham. And I'll explain it to you. However, whatever happened with weed happened. Whatever, if it's reefer madness, if you go back to the history of weed and Randolph Hearst, the hemp could have been paper. Hemp has like 52 uses, and he was in control of paper. He would have lost all his money if hemp took over. So he really tried to demonize weed. So if you think about it, what is booze? It's a spirit. They say, ooh, it's 180 proof. It's the spirits. The spirits get in you. I think booze is not a naturally occurring thing. Possibly is in nature, but more ale. I believe it was put here to fuck us up. I think booze and all its marketing, all its glory, you see people on commercials drinking, laughing, having good. That's not how it is. You should see some dude trying to rip a girl's bra off while he's making out with her. Another chick puking in the corner while her hands are fucking. Another 2 dudes fighting. A car crash. Like, that's what you should see in these commercials for booze. But you don't see that. You see people having the best time. That's just a lie. People can have a good time, but if you were to film a lot of booze parties in the weekend, more than half of them would end up with some drama. Number 2 is it's a depressant. It adds calories, number 3. It makes you, it's hard with the hangover, number 4. It eventually fucks with your liver at number 5. There's all these things. But I don't think it occurs naturally in nature as much as weed and mushrooms. And I'm not saying I do those either. Stay with me. If you believe in all of this stuff and the vibrations of yourself and how we're made up of vibes, and it says your tribe is your vibe, and that you actually are a vibrating, alive organism. I'm trying to say it in a less hippie way. They say that if you are connected to your vibrations and if you tap in that if you vibrate at a higher frequency, that there's frequencies all around us, which are true. That's how we listen to music and how we deal with cell phones and different things. Frequencies are a real thing, and we pick them up, and we can also transmit them through ourselves, not knowing that we can. This is a scientific fact. Booze is known to lower your frequency. Yo, that's a low frequency vibe. You ever hear that? Yo, that guy's got bad vibes, low frequency vibe. It is a scientific fact that if you rest as an 8, if you take mushrooms and it taps you into an 11, booze is at a 2 for you. It reduces your natural state of frequency. Like, you can look this up. They did the water test, and they did something with water and how crystals look different ways when certain, I don't know how to explain it, but it's real. The frequency shit is real. And one of the things without drinking, now my sleep is another issue I got to get better at, is I do feel that I was I'm way more in tune with the earth. And I've already been in tune, but I'm way more in tune with everyone. And I start seeing, the more you see drunk people, how annoying they are, you're almost a whole existence above people when you're really fucking clear-minded. That's why I think booze is totally man-made and so prevalent, because the powers that be don't want you at your best self. They want diligent, hardworking, obedient bitches, just like George Carlin said, obedient workers to do their bidding. They want you subservient. They want to beat you with a stick, and on the weekend, here's some booze that you think is a fucking treat, but really it's just going to make you fucking worse. But it's couched as something great. If they really wanted to help you out, they'd give you some weed or mushrooms. The argument with mushrooms is that it actually taps into your pineal gland, and you actually see things that are there that we can't see in our normal frequency. There's an argument. I can't prove that. Prove that. I cannot prove that. But it's an interesting argument that when you tap into a mushroom, you're seeing things that are there that you can't tap into because it's being blocked by whatever. I could talk about this all day, but I have to go to the airport. Let me just say this. I don't know if I'll ever drink again. I might. It depends. Depends on my emotions. But right now, I don't see a reason why. I'm very happy not drinking. I'm more physically active. I want to be more fit. Instead of drinking, you go play golf or basketball. I'm not saying it's bad. It's definitely bad. It is bad. Your mind, it fucks your mindset up. That's what I really believe. I believe booze fucks your mindset up. I never felt that way before. But this is the longest I've never drank. I'm not going to judge you if you drink, because I understand it. If you're annoying and you drink, then I'll judge you. If everybody did mushrooms or weed and there was no more booze, it'd be fascinating to see what the culture would be like. You'd probably have a lot more hippie cheese shops. People would get more creative and do their own thing, where booze is like boo, 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 boo. So look, that's my opinion. I think it fucks your frequencies up. I love the feeling of being a good drunk, but if I didn't get a hangover, which I do, if I didn't feel like someone punched me in the face the next day, which I do, if I didn't get angry, which I do, if I didn't have like depression afterwards and start thinking like, why did I do that? Why? I would have loved to keep drinking. If I could keep abs and drink, if I picked quality people, if I had meaningful sex during it. These are 8 reasons so far why I'm drinking. If I made good dietary choices, that's 9. So that's just my personal thing. You could do whatever you want, but I'm sharing it with me, and I've lived a lot. But now I'm in this place where I'm boring. I don't want to be boring, but I am. You know, I eat only a certain amount of foods. I hang out with my chick, do certain gigs, and try to spread the fucking word of truth and organize my fucking little office. Figure out next steps before the world goes down. It's my clock. Gotta get to the airport. You guys, I love you. Your journey's your own. I'm nothing. I don't know anything. I'm just sharing mine with you to maybe make yours a little easier. Like, subscribe, join my Patreon. I have 19 Patreons. I'm trying to get to 20. Go to my website. More dates are happening. Much love to you, my brothers and sisters. Peace.